I've been considering Joseph Aoun as the candidate for the presidency over the last couple of years. And I was quite, you know, happy that he was elected because in everything, my understanding, it might be completely wrong, but my understanding and reading of the situation in Lebanon and the scenario where we've just, Hezbollah has been weakened, and the call for Hezbollah for the last 20 odd years or so to, hand in their weapons and join the Lebanese army if they want to really defend Lebanon, to eliminate that secondary military force that shouldn't be in Lebanon. I was thinking about this and looking at the candidates that had been presented in the last 2 years as president, and I always felt that all of them, obviously not the Hezbollah candidate, not Sami Halabi, but on the other side, that they were people who Hezbollah would never accept because they've been so vocal and against Hezbollah. And so to me, when I was looking at the candidacy of Joseph Aoun, I was thinking that he's probably the only person that could come into this transitional period and potentially be able to even sit down with Hezbollah and have a conversation of the possibility of bringing them in and getting them to hand in their weapons, because they have worked together. They have fought together, the army and Hezbollah, against ISIS in different scenarios within Lebanon. And he's never had a problem, like a confrontation, military or whatever, with Hezbollah. So in that respect, there was a respect between the two groups on that senior level. So in my idealistic world, it was like, well, if there's any chance of Hezbollah even contemplating handing in their weapons and joining becoming one military power that serves Lebanon and protects Lebanon under the umbrella of the Lebanese Armed Forces, maybe this is the guy that could start that conversation. That's just in my wildest dreams. What do you think?
Well, I mean, look, I think we have to separate two things, and we have to separate the issue of Hezbollah's arms and the integration into a unified security structure from the personality of Joseph Aoun. I mean, let's take the harder part first, right? Hezbollah's integration into the Lebanese army would require a wholesale reform of the Lebanese army itself, right? And it would also require the party and the community that deems that Hezbollah's presence is actually protecting them, not just from the Israelis, but also from the rest of the Lebanese state, to be acquiesced. Let's not forget that Hezbollah isn't just a military force. Hezbollah has a civilian infrastructure that's very wide. Hezbollah has a financial infrastructure that rivals any bank in the country, well, at least until the recent war. If we are to move in that direction, we need to stop speaking about it in ideological terms and start speaking about it in terms of transitional measures that would need to be put in place. Lebanon needs a deterrent force against Israel, because if we don't have a deterrent, the Israelis will either invade us, as they have many times, or attack us whenever they want, and we can't do anything about it. So the fact that Hezbollah, if Hezbollah didn't exist, we would have to create one, as Biden used to say about Israel. We have to create a deterrent. If we're able to absorb that deterrent that they currently have into our security architecture, then we're in a more secure place as a country. And I think that's lost on a lot of people when they speak about, they should just give up their arms. Well, they should give up their arms under what pretense? That we're going towards a national security architecture that doesn't preserve a deterrent force? That doesn't make any sense to me, at least. The second thing I would say is that, the Lebanese army is intentionally vague about what it wants to do and what its objectives are. And we saw it, for instance, in the uprising of 2019 and forward until the coronavirus destroyed everything. the army was the one beating up protesters. The army was the one that was protecting the establishment class. And then, all of a sudden the army is there, and all of a sudden they're not when the establishment parties are fighting each other in the streets. So you also have to put the army within its political context. The army is not a neutral party, so to speak. The army is a reflection of the people who aren't neutral at all. So the way the army exists in Lebanon as the only institution that is widely respected is a very big plus for it. But if we are to bring Hezbollah into the army itself needs to reform. And we have more, the American army, I can't remember the exact numbers, but the American army has many like 5 or 6 brigadier generals. I think we have like 30. We've split up, it has become a public employment service for the most part. So if we don't reform the army, we're never getting Hezbollah to integrate its arms. And if we don't make sure that the reason Hezbollah exists from a political perspective, but also from a social perspective, also goes away, then we're never going to get to that place where we have a unified security architecture underneath the Lebanese army. And I think people need to engage with this issue right now, because we have an opportunity to say, okay, we have a president that has stated that's what he wants. We have a prime minister who's on that line. Now, how do we convince the community that is reliant on Hezbollah for its physical protection, but also for its social services to come online? And if we're going to come at it from an ideological perspective only, it's never going to work.